Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well still, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? All right, everybody. Today I have a subscriber from the great state of Virginia, and he has been on the show 2 times to share some Dogman encounters that he's had in the county of Tazewell out in Virginia. DJ, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for taking some time out of your night to come on and share what's been going on with us.
Not a problem.
So, well, you're not a stranger to this. You know how I do it. I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and you can share what's been going on with everybody else.
Gotcha. Well, last week, the week before last, we were finishing up the second cutting, which is the last cutting of the year for our fall stocks for round bale and square bales, to sell to local farmers who have farms. And we had done cut them, baled them, and we were moving them into cover from the weather. And we was finishing up the last field over in the end toward it borders the pasture. Well, we noticed that there was a younger deer there hanging around my brother-in-law I was spearing him on the tractor, taking them over to him, and he was picking them up with another piece of machinery and stacking them on top of each other in the barn. Well, we noticed a deer hanging under earlier. It was a fawnling. It still had like maybe 2 spots. It was a young deer. I don't think it was hurt, maybe. I know it wasn't hurt by none of our equipment, but it was getting close to dark when we was finishing up. We had like 4 bales left, and all of a sudden, dark was beating us. So, it was basically a race against time to try to get the hay out before the dew heavy fell on it. But we were getting ready to turn the equipment off and cover everything up for the night on the farm and lock everything away. And it probably maybe 15 minutes before total darkness. And all of a sudden, we started hearing barking, howling, and yipping. It was a yipping similar, I guess, to that of a coyote, but it had a growl to it, and whatever did was yipping and howling had an ungodly set of lungs. And I've heard something similar to that before. I thought it was a Dogman. I didn't know for sure.
Okay.
But my friend, my family member, who's basically owns the property, he'd never heard nothing like that before, and he's 10 years older than me. And it astounded him, but at the same time, it was scary at the same time. And then we heard that, and then all of a sudden, we heard a squealing like I have never. It was a shrilling squeak, like scream that would actually hurt the ears. I mean, it was very scary sounding, but it's something that I'd never heard before, and it was extremely loud. It was a noise I've never been familiar with.
If you had to like kind of categorize it, What would it be? What would it closely resemble?
I honestly, there was, I'm trying to, it was a squeal a lot like what, you know what the boars are of Africa. What's the boar? The whistle pig, they call them over there in Africa.
Yeah.
The brush pig. It sounded a lot like when a lion, were to dig the young out of the den, and that squealing.
Okay.
Sounded like that, but it had a little bit more gruff to it. I mean, it was very nerve wracking and very irritating. At the same time, it was just, I'll be honest with you, it was scary as hell.
All right. Okay.
And we were listening to it. As we're listening to this, we walked over there to where we seen the deer, and something evidently must have grabbed it, because the sound actually sounded like about 200 yards up the hill into the wood line from where this deer was laying. And we found a few drops of blood and some hair right there, like something might have just grabbed it and took off with it. Unbeknownst to us, we don't know what it was, but we were sitting there and listening, but my brother-in-law was wanting to go because it was really irritating. And then it just, all of a sudden, it was starting quietening down. It was like a gruff and a rough. You could actually sound like it was a free-for-all up there. You could actually hear limbs shaking and brush breaking. I don't know what was going on, if something grabbed this and something else tried to take it or what have you, but it was to the point that I was wanting to get out of there too. Well, all of a sudden I seen my brother-in-law look up the hill, and he got a look on his face. And then he turned around on me, and he passed me. I mean, you can imagine, say, the sequence of walking on water for speed. He could have done it. And I know he was bothered by the sound before, but I didn't think it'd bother him this bad.
Right.
And when we got in his vehicle to ride, for me, drop me off and then go to hit work, it's about a 45-minute drive from where, we're located at. And the whole time the way home, he might have said 10 words. And he was as white as a piece of notebook paper in an Alaskan summer. I thought maybe the sound had got to him, but I thought something else maybe. I don't know. And then 2 days later, or 3 days later, this happened on a Wednesday, I think, or a Thursday, and I found out on a Friday evening, he told me he saw something. And I'm like, did it have fur? He's like, no. In his way that he put it, in his layman's terms, he said it looked like a plucked, skint turkey as it's taken out of the pack and prepared for Thanksgiving Day dinner. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? He said, you know the color of them? I said, yeah, they look like they're whitish, green, blue. You can tell where they've been thawed and picked and plucked. He said, that's what it looked like. And he said, it ran so fast over the hill. And I asked him, I said, well, did it run? No. And he had stopped me, and he said it ran like a kangaroo would. He said it was humped up. He said he thought he seen arms, but he couldn't see him making contact with the earth. And he said it was gone in less than 3 seconds. So, he tells me, and me being dumb and stupid, thinking that, I had the biggest firearm, the most firearms, could read anything else if you ever come across it. I got the big idea to go up there Sunday evening and try to see, locate, find this thing or hear it or whatever. And he didn't want to go. I mean, this man is 56 years old, and I thought he'd seen everything. Evidently, he's seen more than he really wanted to contend with on this situation.
Right.
So I went up there Sunday evening, and I didn't think I'd make contact with it. I was more or less just, I had I had a gun, but I thought I was just goofing off, I guess, trying to play Rambo for the sequence of being a man with these grown-up toys. I had no intention of seeing it, never even thought I would or hear it or nothing. Well, I went down there to where the deer was taken, I guess, and it's in the end of the pasture down there. It's about 400 yards long, and the woods and the forest line border the grass pasture. And there's a stream that separates the pasture, the 3 different big meadow fields. And I was on the side toward closest to the road. And I sat there till about an hour after dark, didn't see nothing, didn't hear nothing. So I started walking back toward my truck. And on the way up there, the only thing I can figure, this thing, how it got there, I don't know if it was sleeping there, come out of a hole. I don't know if it dropped out of the sky. I don't know. But it was about less than 30 yards on the other side of the creek bottom in that other pasture. When I started walking, it hollered and squealed like what we had heard that evening, but there's a difference when hearing it 200 plus yards off and then it being right on top of you in the middle of the night with the closest neighbor a quarter of a mile away. No vehicles, no electricity, no nothing. I mean, it actually scared me to the point that I almost lost control of my bodily functions, if you get my point.
Right, right.
And as soon as it did this, I had my headlamp on. You know, it's got the cord that stretches around your head or your cap. I'd already had it on. And as soon as it done this, I turned my head instantaneous to see what or if anything it would show up. And as soon as the light hit it, this thing took off. By other people's accounts and other witnesses, you know, they say that the Dogman and a Squatch can move faster than you can blink an eye. This thing covered 175 to 200 yards flat in less than 5 seconds. The light hit it, and it's like as soon as the light, it was already on the run. It already had 20 feet on me by the time the law caught up with it, and I followed its run as best I could. This thing didn't run like a human. It didn't run like any normal animal. It's like the Planet of the Apes is the best way I can describe the way it moved. It was using its hands. Now, I'm not talking paws, hands. It was hands. It had digits. And the best of my knowledge and what I observed in that amount of time before my light was getting weak until it got to the shadows, it was running with the hands inverted. It didn't have the hands flat palm down. They were turned inward, and it looked like it was pushing off the ground with the back of its hands and knuckles. And it looked like a skint turkey. The thing was an albino-ish, bluish gray. It was just had no hair about it at all. It was grotesque looking. It was so nasty looking that it was actually scary looking. And from what I could tell, there was not a hair one on this thing. It looked like it possibly had varicose veins. As far as the feet, what I could see, I couldn't see the feet because it was moving so fast. It did have a foot, but I don't know the exact shape. It looked like it was elongated, very long and skinny, not very wide at all. But the skin on this thing looked like that it had been drawn so tight and just twisted to the point it looked like you seen every bone and muscle and every piece of flesh in this thing. It was basically, it looked like if you could punch it with a pencil that it would bleed, it would drop all its innards out of it. The skin was stretched so tight against its skeleton. You could see every form of bone in its body as it moved. And I don't know if this thing, I'm guessing it or something like it was possibly what got into it up in the mountain, or what I'm guessing was the Dogman maybe.
Right.
And I've seen 2 or 3 either cuts healing like they were trying to scab over or it scabbed, or veins on its left-hand shoulder behind, I guess you call it the scapula, the back of the shoulder blade, coming down to the inner side level of the ribs. If it was veins, they were weird looking, but it looked like it was slashes that were trying and already started to heal. If I'm guessing what this thing is, it must have crossed paths. Either if that was a Dogman that was doing a yipping and hollering and growling and fussing with this thing, either the Dogman grabbed the deer and took off with it and this thing thought it would take it, or this thing grabbed the deer and run across the Dogman and the Dogman took it. I don't know. But I do know one of my description when I talked to my brother-in-law after you remember I touched base with you.
Yep.
Forgive me, my nerves were tore up.
That's all right.
They still are talking about this thing. He described it to a T exactly what I was seeing. And he said that it was what he seen leaving that evening. So evidently it was the losing end of whatever it come into contact with, whether it be a Squatch or something else or a Dogman. And from what I've learned from you and, you know, other encounters and listeners and people have come across this thing and what I've encountered, that was a Dogman hollering and barking and aggressing. But this thing, I am not worried about Dogman in the least compared to whatever in God's name this thing is. Right. I think it's like you. I don't like the denomination of the rake. That is a bull crap, creepypasta name, as you said, given to whatever this thing is. And it's like you said, what do you, crawler, I think is.
I mean, people call them crawlers. I don't really like the name crawler. And I think there's a better name, because when you think crawler, that sounds like it's crawling up a wall. But,
yeah,
a lot of people are describing these translucent humanoid creatures.
That's what it would, like you said, it put your mind of translucent.
Yeah, I don't know, like you and I were talking prior to this a little bit, I had a subscriber just recently, she shared her granddaughter's encounter. Pam, she shared her granddaughter's sighting down in Mississippi, and the interview caught me off guard, because the little girl had said to her grandma, she said, you got some strange looking dogs down here. And prior, as I'm reading, I'm like, wow, what kind of dog man did this little girl see? And then she describes it, and it was almost identical. She put skinny, bald, white granddaddy or something like that,
Yeah.
And that's what they resemble. They almost look like they don't have any muscle, but
no,
they're strong as shit, I mean,
exactly.
And
well,
I don't know where they come from, if they're from a different dimension or underground, subterranean. But like me and you said, we talked for a little bit before this. I said, I think they're subterranean because, from geographical evolution, the skin changes, the eyes change. Translucent blind catfish have been spotted in underground lakes and caves, so I don't know. And you've got caves out in Tazewell County.
Yeah, we got a lot of them.
So, I mean, these things they're freaky, and ironically enough, like you said, you hadn't heard the upload, because when you and I were talking, and I said, did you hear the account from Pam? And you're like, no. And, it's just, these things are out there, and chances are, who knows, maybe they come from portals. Maybe this is what are coming out of these things. And to me, they're a hell of a lot scarier than a Dogman and a Sasquatch, because at least we know what Dogman and Sasquatch are. We have no idea what the hell these things are or what they're capable of.
You're exactly correct. I mean, anybody everywhere, male, female, it doesn't matter what county, state, or even country you live in. There's always been the legend of a werewolf, which a dog man, it's part human, part dog. But, that's always been in the back of our mind, whether people have seen it, encountered a dog man or not. You've got a base description, fiction as they want to call it, that all, humans are aware of. This thing, I don't know what in God's creation it is. It's like you said, it's basically an abomination.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that first night when you guys were out doing what you were doing. You've had a couple of, hairy encounters with the Dogman.
Right.
That first one that you had when you were with your friend, and you guys, it was coming down that hill at you guys. When you heard
same hill, same place, just a further meadow closer to the wood line.
Okay, well, were the sounds similar to what you were hearing that night?
Very similar. That's what I basically trying to say. I think the one that was doing the yipping, barking, and like a growling, like scream, sort of, but with a lot of bass to it, was a Dogman.
So these things might have tangled up. That's what you're thinking over this.
I'm thinking they've tangled over that deer, whichever one of them snatched it.
Yeah.
And I think that whatever this thing is, a frog man with AIDS, maybe, come out on the losing end.
Yeah.
And I say frog man because what little body characteristics I can make out in just a few seconds that I could try to identify. It looked like when it ran to the left, so its left-hand side, it looked like that it had no eyelids.
Yeah.
That the eyes were translucent, no eyelids, no hair, no nothing. But the eye, my light did reflect off of it. It was a yellowish orange. And it looked like that thing's eyeball was as big as a baseball. No ears, no earlobes that I could see, but what I seen was correct. It looked like a hole, an entrance like on the side of its head, where our ears are behind our eyes and our jawline. It looked like it was just a naked hole.
Huh.
And I say frogman as I refer to it because the fingers, we talked earlier, anybody who's ever seen a frog, their legs, them long toes they got, prehensile-like toes. This thing had fingers, not paws, not coon claws, but actual fingers. And the two that I seen were so long, I'm thinking between 8 and 9 inches long. That because it was moving so fast, I barely got to one look at it, but I seen it pull its leg, limb up or whatever, and it was moving off the ground with its front limbs off the back of its hands. And them fingers looked like they were rubber as they moved. It looked like it just made of cartilage, just maybe some bone and the rest extension flesh, but it was eerie looking, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what I can think, I might have seen the corner of its jaw. Looks like that it had no lips, its face, to the best way I can put it, looked like it was a man-like face without any protruding shape. It's just like it was flat.
Yeah, it's like a nondescript almost,
It's like, exactly. It's like the nose being removed. It had, what I could tell, it had no eyelids, huge bug-like eyes with a minus of ears, but ear canals and no lips. It looked like just a concave indentation, I think, with its mouth open.
Yeah.
I have never...
What's interesting is that you said something that kind of caught me off guard was that it came out on the losing end, but you really don't know that. Just because it had a couple scratches on it, you don't know who won.
That's very true. The only way I say that is because I didn't see nothing the evening we heard this. My brother-in-law's the only one that made contact with it right at the edge of dark, and he said it was running away, that it looked like it wasn't carrying or dragging nothing, but it was running away. So that's the only reason that I referred to it as a losing end of the stick.
Right.
It could have very well whipped the Dogman. It could have killed him for all we know. But I've always judged a battle if something like that happens. The first one to turn tail and run is usually the loser.
Or it killed the Dogman and just left without maybe it didn't want the deer. Maybe they killed a kill. Who knows? Like I said, we don't know shit about him. That's what makes him so scary.
Exactly. We don't know. And even if it did kill the Dogman right there, or it wounded it bad enough that it died, pretty much anybody that's had any contact or listens and researches cryptids knows that if it hits the ground or wherever it makes contact, wherever it's died, it will not be there long.
Right.
The rest of it's
Yep.
So that's the reason it wouldn't even done no count for me and him to go up there with flashlights, especially after we heard that evening, or wait till the next day, because there's not going to be no body of anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, these things, whatever the heck they are, I'm at a loss because, well, when Pam shared that and the email she sent me, I shared on the upload, and she asked for some advice. And like I put it on the channel, I said, get some lights out in your yard. You've got a huge yard, get some lights out there. That way, if you see this thing, you can turn the lights on it, blind it, hopefully, and shoot the shit out of it. People probably won't like that one, but
they have to get over it.
We're gonna have to. The only way we will ever know what these things are is by having one captured.
Yeah.
Theory is great. Theory is great, but eventually theory gets old, and I want facts.
I'm like you. Exactly. We're not going to know nothing until one of these things is dead on a slab, or if it's caught alive, it's restrained and it's studied. That's the only way we're going to have any questions answered. I don't know.
There's a lot of speculation on what these things are. I mean, me and you, like I said a couple times before, we talked about this, and I've got a couple of theories that maybe they're through geographic and evolution change, through the change of evolution being geographically placed underground. They were a feral human that eventually changed, or who knows, during the 50s up until present time, the CIA likes to do some crazy fucked up experiments on human beings. So
exactly.
Who knows, what the hell these things are.
Exactly. It's like you said that, the changes in evolution in the earth. Who's to say that during the land bridge, they refer to the Cro-Magnon Iceman, the missing link. Who's to say this ain't the missing link that was survived, but during the change in the Earth's surface, that they did not get trapped, like you said, below subterranean levels, and they learned to survive. And they're blind, but they can't see, but their hearing is so acute. That's how they've learned to maintain and live, and maybe they've made it to the surface. We don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe they dropped out of a portal, which I like that idea a lot better, because it's like, like you said, we were talking earlier, the only way this thing could have the skin pigment that it does, it's either crawled out of a lab, like you said, the CIA have tested it and it was released, it's subterranean, or if it was dropped out of a portal, because it could not exist on the surface and be as pale as what it is. There's no way.
Absolutely right. Yeah, there's no way possible. And, maybe, who knows? They could be coming out of portals and then go to subterranean level. They're like with pigmentation on their skin like that, the sun hits it, that's an instant burn, almost like a vampire, like you said earlier. That pale white, just real
albino, veinated skin, like a varicose veined skin.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be like waking up in the morning and seeing a big smell on the front porch, and you walking out there and putting a handful of salt on it. It's going to shrivel.
Yeah.
Same thing with this.
There's a lot of videos of these things too. I mean, not a lot, but there are numerous ones. And the ones that are out there, a lot of people are like, well, I mean, there's some ones from Hollywood that people have doctored up. Just, like the Dogman video that's going around. That's actually like it's a movie prop from a Spanish or Portuguese Dogman movie, and there's a
Asian.
No, Islamic, somewhere around in that area, like Afghanistan or Pakistan. Dogman movie. Actually, it's not a Dogman movie. It's a movie, but there's a Dogman creature in it, and it's from over in the Middle East.
Correct.
But these creatures, these videos on YouTube that these people are catching, I think a lot of them are legit, because, it's just an average guy like you or I. Where the fuck are they going to get the Hollywood props to, do these videos? There's one that this kid is out in the woods, and he hears this sound almost like what you're describing, like a squeal, like a male boar squealing. And he's out in the woods. He's going out there. He's got a flashlight with him. And this isn't the one that everybody sees, where it's on the ground. This thing's actually in a tree. It's probably 10, 15 feet up in a tree, looking off to the side. And it sees him and screeches and just fucking bolts into the darkness of the night. There's just too many videos that look legit and feel legit, and now too many sightings to be discredited. You can't discredit any of these now, because too many normal people are seeing them, and catching them on video, and they seem aggressive. But like I said, we're not going to know anything until we get some sort of physical evidence. And
exactly.
I love theory. I mean, I love theory, but in my eyes, theory is just almost like like a Stephen King novel.
Exactly. It only gets you so far.
Yeah. I mean, I want facts. That's why lately I've been sharing encounters on the channel, but on my off time, I'm reading Russian scientist notes and shit like that on Sasquatch. And, so we need facts. And with these things, especially because if they are coming out of portals, they're very dangerous because, they're from some other fucking dimension, and we don't know what's in that dimension, so we don't know how dangerous these things can really be.
Exactly. I like this, like you've been commentating and researching. I like to see the sheriff from Cock County, Tennessee, the tutu wearing, what's his name, come across this and see him wear his pink tutu.
Yeah.
How's he going to explain this? Was he going to try to do arrest E.T.?
That's another thing. They could be some sort of, extraterrestrial offshoot. We don't know. That's another theory. They resemble an ET minus the bulbous head.
Yep.
I don't know, but I like how you described the frog-like fingers, how it hopped or bounced. It's definitely a creepy. If you think about it in your mind, and you picture the way you describe this thing, how it hops like the Planet of the Apes, that's unsettling. It's very unnerving. That's creepy shit.
I don't know if it scared me or it just did. I don't know, but I will take 10 Dogman encounters for one of these because I don't ever want to experience none of either again. But if I had my choice, I'd take Dogman all day long.
Yep. Yeah.
This thing raises another question in a bar and a person, the human's mind, that we just can't imagine or answer because it's so ugly that it's grotesque, but it's so grotesque that it's frightening looking.
Right. Yeah.
It's like you talking about that dog man that's been around on every daggone channel saying it's a dog man that's been captured, caught, and killed. Take that, whatever little hair it had on it, because I have seen the same thing, shave it, and the skin tone and the blood and the veins that was on this, put that on a scale between 5 to 6 foot tall, about 120 to 135 pound weight, as skinny as hell, and that's what you've got.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what this thing is, but wherever it come from, I hope it goes back.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And that Dogman that you're talking about, it's going around everywhere. That's that Portuguese. It's called Argus de Lobos is the name of the movie. And I think somebody found the movie and probably didn't figure that it's Portuguese, no one will watch this, no one's seen this, and put it up there. Well, people do watch international movies, so especially when they're about cryptids.
Right.
It's
You're
just
exactly
a shame.
Right.
It's a shame that they've got to, because doing something like that fucks up the credibility of anything. And I don't think on that little piece of footage that everyone's talking about, because there is some Islamic talk in the back, and there's like supposedly people say the cartel killed it or the Islamic military killed it. Well, it's from two different movies. It's from one, the Islamic one it's about some king from the 18th century, and it's like a fantasy movie, and there's a Dogman like creature in it. And then the Argus de Lobos is in Portuguese, which is Spanish. So I mean, there's where you get your cartel. But that ruins. I think what that is I don't think personally. I don't think a person in our community did that. I think that the government put that shit out, and knowing eventually someone's going to catch on, and that's going to ruin the credibility of our community. And that's what we've got to stop, because, you know, there's too much evidence out there. There's too many encounters. These things are real. These things are dangerous, and you can't make a laughing stock out of these, because then we just become easier feeding for them, you know? So
Exactly.
we've got to really take charge and kind of push back at the government for lying to us as much as they do.
Well, they treat us like they do mushrooms. You know, mushroom farm. They feed us shit and keep us in the dark.
Yep, that's exactly what they do. Wow. Well, I appreciate you coming and sharing this with us.
Oh, thank you for your time.
I know you didn't really. I know it's been when I talked to you, you were almost didn't want to share what happened Sunday. You were just going to talk about, you know, when you and your brother-in-law were out there. But, you know, I appreciate you taking the time to share this with us, because whatever this thing is, we need to get to understand it, especially if it's, you know, I mean, this is the second time that I've heard about this in a week, from 2 different subscribers from 2 different locations.
Right.
You know, so it's just it's another creature that we need to be weary of, and who knows how long they've been out there. We don't know, which is even scarier. That's what makes it scarier. So
you're exactly right.
Well, DJ, is there anything that you'd like to say to anybody before we end the interview? Do me a favor, don't hang up when we end the interview, because I want to talk to you a little bit after.
No, there's nothing I can say out there, Jeff. I mean, I just thank you for your time, and we all appreciate what you do.
Well, like I said, you guys are the channel. You guys are this is just a platform. I give you guys a platform to share, and I appreciate you guys sharing. So, DJ, thank you for your time, and please be safe, and you know, always be prepared. You know what I mean on that one.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, buddy. It was good talking to you.
You too. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is your support, after all, that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and honestly what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.